So what's the big deal? It's not like this thing is so light that it defies gravity. Huh. Well, what do you know? Hey folks, once again we're back with another video, and today we're going to be working on a Rockshox SIDLUXE Ultimate 2-position remote shock. So this is the A2 chassis of the SIDLUXE. Slightly different than the A1 chassis. I already put a video out for a remote A1 chassis. We're going to do a full service on this shock. Full air can, full damper, and eyelet with remote service. Now, I highly recommend you don't do the eyelet and the remote unless you absolutely need to, okay? If you stick to the air can and the damper body, everything should go smooth. This is a very easy shock to work on. It absolutely loves being serviced. If you own one of these, stay on top of your 50-hour service. And if you ride it a lot, definitely do your damper service on it, all right? So with that being said, let's get into the tools and parts needed for the job. Not many tools needed for this job, but as always, the most important tool on this table right there, safety glasses. It's a shock, it has pressure, it has oil. Wear your safety glasses. Tools in order of use. If you line them up like this, it should make your life a little bit easier, all right? So first, pen, pencil, paper to write down our settings. You are going to need a 2.5mm Allen to get your rebound settings for this shock, and a shock pump to get your air settings from your air can, but we need a high pressure shock pump up to 500 PSI for the IFP later. So then we're going to take the shock, we're going to put it in a flat jaw on a vise, we're going to try and take off the air can. Well, we're going to take it off, but you might need a strap wrench. You might not. We'll find out. Then we're going to go straight to the damper. We're going to need a Schrader removal tool so we can remove the Schrader cap and take out the air. Then we're going to mount the shock vertically on the flat jaw. We're going to need a 2mm Allen to remove the bleed screw. And then we're going to need either a 19mm wrench, crow's foot, adjustable wrench, Knipex. But the one thing with this shock, and I don't know why they designed it like this, it needs to be narrow. So you only have about, I don't know, 6mm, give or take, right? Maybe 6.2 max millimeters, which is about not quarter of an inch. Yeah, about 1/4 of an inch, give or take, right? So we don't have that much room. If it's any wider, you will not be able to remove the damper body from the upper part. So then we remove it. We're gonna need an oil pan to put the oil into. We're gonna work straight on the IFP. So to set the IFP, Rockshox makes this IFP depth tool. Not a huge fan of it, but it works. You just got to be real careful with it, or you can just use a caliper. Works just as good. So then we're going to work on the piston. Now, this is the only stupid thing about this shock, in my opinion. Rockshox, I'm convinced you could have done something different. Don't get me wrong, I love you guys, but why? So this is a specific tool to the A2 shock, and we need both sides in order to be able to use it, and we have to use it with a 14mm socket, which helps for torquing it down, okay? So we need this tool, part number below, 14mm socket to work with that tool, tie wrap in order to collect all our piston assembly. Then we're going to need a 1.5mm Allen or punch in order to punch out the Delrin ball from the air can piston. Then when we go to fill it up with air later, we need a soft jaw hole that is around 23.8, give or take-ish, millimeters round, so we could fit it in there and clamp it down, fill it up, and close it all up. Then we need a Rockshox adapter for the SID. The regular red one won't work. This blue one is for the SID, part number below. So you need to get that. You can get them anywhere these days. And a torque wrench. Now, optional service. If you want to work on the dials, you need Loctite blue. Anything, you don't need this tool, but ultimately this is for the eyelet to remove it from the shaft. You need a 10mm soft jaw hole, 1.5mm Allen, 2.5mm Allen for the dials themselves. But these are optional, okay? If you're not working on dials, you don't have to worry about them. Alcohol, paper towel, and that's pretty much it, folks. If we're missing anything, I'll make sure to go over it in the video. Let's go over the parts needed for the job. As for parts, we're gonna need a seal kit, part number 00.4318.037.012. This is the 200-hour kit for the A1 and the A2 SIDLUXE shock. The kit should come with everything in it, but double check for a pillow pack. Sometimes these kits don't have the pillow pack of oil for the air can. If it doesn't have it, well, for the longest time, Rockshox was using 15W50. They still recommend it, but they are transitioning over to Maxima Plush Dynamic light, not the heavy, the light grease for the air can. For the damper body, we need Maxima 7-weight oil. For grease, they give you dynamic seal grease in the pack. I'm a bigger fan of SRAM butter. I'm probably going to use SRAM butter for this shock. All right, well, let's get into working on the shock. Before we work on a shock, make sure to clean it thoroughly. Make sure there's no dirt in any of these small areas over here. We do not want dirt falling into this thing when we put it back together at the end, okay? So the first thing we need to do is write down our settings. Now, technically, I don't need to worry about this. This is coming to me. I'm gonna redo this whole thing anyway, but just to go through the motions, 2.5mm Allen, put it in your rebound first, turn counterclockwise, count the clicks, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 clicks, and write them down so you remember them later. That's done. Now we're going to take our air pressure so we have it for later. If you're going to start from scratch, then you don't have to worry about this. Again, I'm just going through the motions. So let's put it in there. We are at, what is it, 215. So let's say 215 plus 3. Let's say max, right? Then we're going to remove the air slowly. The slower, the better, so it gets it out of both chambers, all right? Next, we mount the shock on a flat jaw, and we remove our sag ring in order to remove our air can. Now, you might need a strap wrench. Oh, boy. Wow, I'm going to absolutely need a strap wrench on this one, okay? So these are the teeth. You put the teeth in the direction that you want to turn, right? So you wrap it around there and tighten it, and then try, I think this strap wrench sucks. Okay. There we go. There we go. We got it. Wow, that thing was tight. Let me double check. Oops. Make sure that we don't have any air in here. That was real tight. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now, before we take it off, let's take a paper towel, put it down here, just in case it wants to pop off due to pressure. Because right now, this thing to me seems tight. Are we sure there's no air in here? Now, I press upwards as I'm screwing out, just in case. Well, definitely pressure in there. See what I mean? Good amount of pressure, too. All right, so for starters, what we're gonna do, grab a paper towel and clean the heavy stuff so it doesn't pool. We're gonna work on the air can later as part of the 50-hour service. Well, put the air can on the side. Let's clean this area here. Yeah, there's definitely, look at that, all the little bit, that's all like sandy bits. So this thing absolutely needed a service, and it needed it bad. To open up the damper, we have to remove the air from the IFP. We are going to need a Schrader removal tool to remove the cap first. All right, cap on the side, and then grab like a 3mm Allen with some paper towel. The towel is just to catch any oil mist. Breathing in oil, folks, is bad, okay? Next, we need to remove our bleed screw. Let's remove the token first. 2mm Allen. This horizontal screw here is our token. Let's remove the screw, put it on the side, and let's pop off the token. Just pop it off. What the? Grab it. Okay, let's do it this way. Put it on the side. Then over here on an angle, camera's in the way, we have a bleed screw. Again, 2mm Allen. This on an angle downwards. How's it here? Is this thing loose? Wow, this thing was pretty loose. That's not good. Next, we separate the damper body from the upper part. 19mm wrench, adjustable wrench, Nip-X, crow's foot. Now, the thing is, we're limited in space over here, okay? We need to be 6 millimeters, give or take a very little bit or less. We can't be more than that, or else you won't be able to fit anything in there, folks. So they shouldn't have done that. There was no need to do that, right? So let me take our crow's foot over here, and there we go. Turn it counterclockwise. That was in tight. That wasn't too tight. All right. Make sure you have your oil pan ready. Ooh. That is not good. That is not good at all. That already removed all the air from the IFP chamber. Look how much air escaped into the oil. That's all on the top side. All that air that you hear is on the oil side. So to say the least, the shock needed service. Oh yeah, that's horrible. All right. Put this on the side for now. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah. That's not good. Folks, you got to stay on top of your services, especially if you're going to race around in little lightweights like this. Okay, I'm going to let this drain and I will be back. When it comes to disposing oil, folks, please do it properly. Don't put it down a sink, down a toilet, in a drain, out in the garbage, outside. Put it in a bottle that specifically states don't drink danger, and then give it to your local bike shop, give it to a local auto shop. They will know what to do with it, all right? Next, we're going to work on the damper body. Now, if you look over here, I opened up the seal kit, right? The IFP seal kit, and I just put the seal plus the new cap and the seal cap on the side. Now, next we need to remove the IFP from the inside. To do that, we're going to use air. Just use the adapter. It's easier in this case with this shock than it is with an air hose or air can. All right, point it down, and I don't think I'm in all the way. I'm not. No, I should be in all the way. There we go. And one more. Pop. Done. That is our IFP. Let's remove the can. Might as well leave this here. We're going to need it for later anyway. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we are going to remove our Schrader core or Schrader valve. This one was on pretty tight actually. Let's put that on the side. Now, let's take some alcohol, spray it in, spray it out. Let's clean it real well, both inside and outside. This is somewhat narrow in there, so don't trap your fingers in there. All right, so inspecting the outside. Actually, let's clean the inside over here too while we're at it. Okay, inspecting the outside. The outside's in excellent condition. Let's inspect the inside. Pristine. Awesome. Absolutely nothing wrong with the inside on this one, unlike the last one I worked on. Cool. Let's put this on the side. Grab our IFP. Now, you know what I forgot? I forgot to bring my picks. Let me get my picks. All right. Let's take our old IFP seal. Be careful with it. Put it on the side. Don't mix it with the new one. Grab our, well, let's clean it. Clean the seat well. Grab some trim butter or dynamic grease or Slicoleum, whatever you want. That is done. Now we need to put, they give us a new cap with a new seal. I understand a new seal, why not? But why a new cap? Rockshox, if you made these a little bit deeper, you wouldn't need to give us new caps. That's what it comes down to. Okay. And that is on. Now we're ready to put it back in. To put it back in, the IFP depth is dependent on the stroke of your shock. So for instance, this one's a 45 millimeter stroke, okay? Now, if you look at that chart over there, you will see that there are different depths for different size or stroke shocks. So for a 45 millimeter, I need to be 55 millimeters deep. To do that, we have two options. You could use the Rockshox tool over here. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this tool whatsoever. It's very easy to overshoot. You could use a caliper. If you have a caliper, you're better off just using a caliper, all right? So for starters, let's take a little bit of grease. Let's put it inside the walls. All right, just like that. Now, this part goes down. This flat side points up. Let's start the IFP. Now, we said 55 millimeters. Don't go straight to 55 millimeters. Put your thumb at 50, if you're going to use this tool, put your thumb at 50 for starters, right? And then don't push straight in. What you're going to do is sort of curve, like turn it in slowly because it's so easy to overshoot. Okay, just be very delicate over here, very careful. And am I there? I am there now. 55 millimeters. So then we take our valve, screw it down nice and snug. Don't over tighten it. This one was really too over tight. Okay, so nice and snug. Then here's our new cap. Might as well replace the old cap since they give it to us. And our damper body is finished and ready for later. Next, let's work on the piston. To remove the piston, why Rockshox, why? They created a special tool. This is basically the only special tool you need for this job. So essentially it fits inside the, why not? They couldn't use an Allen. They couldn't do something different. Anyway, point B, you're gonna need this piston tool and a 14 millimeter socket. So make sure it fits in, or yeah, socket. So make sure it fits in. There we go. And then grab our socket and loosen it. Loosening isn't the issue. You could probably use something like a spanner to loosen it, but it's torquing it down later. That's where you need this tool. That's just a cap. Okay, let's put that on the side. Then let's grab the camera's in the way. Come on, this thing lifts up. This is our locking plate. There we go. Be careful with it. It's got O-rings we need to change. And then, once again, we need the other side of the piston tool. Make that sure that's sunk in there. What is there a need for this, honestly? Okay, so that's not good. The whole shaft's moving. That is not good. That is telling me, okay, that is an issue. That is telling me it's loosening from the eyelet. So if that happens, this should be detaching from the shaft, not the whole shaft spinning. If the whole shaft spinning, that means it's separating from the eyelet. So what we're going to need to do over here is 10 millimeter and do it from the other side. So grab some alcohol. Let's clean our shaft. Hopefully it'll fit in there. It should fit in there. Okay. Now, let's don't over tighten it. Now let's grab our tool. And what a horrible tool. Let me get in there. There we go. There we go. I think I got it. Yep. Wow, that was way tight. That was way, way, way too tight. Okay. So now, let me just, so it's clear for you guys, see what's going on. Let me turn these around. Again, if you try and unscrew this, and it's not unscrewing from the shaft, and the shaft is spinning with it. That means it's detaching from the eyelet. You do not want that. All right, so now I should be able to grab a tie wrap, put it in, unscrew the whole thing, and we're going to lift it all up, one shot, the whole mechanism onto a tie wrap. This is the bottom, that's the top. And for now, we're going to twist it so it's nice and safe, and we're going to put it on the side. Then we're going to take our bearing assembly or air can piston, our bottom out bumper, which is jammed in there. Gee, man, that thing ain't messing around. Holy cow. Wow. Watch you don't scratch your shaft. Not that it matters at the bottom over there, but bottom out bumper, bottom out washer. And we have a large seal for the eyelet. Now we have an option over here. We can take out the tokens. If you're doing your 200-hour service only, you don't really need to, but I would. Why not? To do so, get an 18mm wrench, Nip-X, crow's foot, and just turn it. Now again, you don't have to do this, but if you want to clean it real well, like for instance, I bought this used. I want to make sure everything is kosher with it. Then grab a pick, go underneath, pick up our token, put it on the side. All right. So this is technically the end of the 200-hour service, okay? Next, we're going to work on the eyelet and the dials, and this is totally optional. I highly recommend not doing so unless you have something wrong with your dials. There's really not much to do over here, and it could work against you in some way or form, so don't even bother if you don't have an issue. Skip to the part where we start working on this. This is part 2 of the 200-hour service where we start working on all this and putting it all back together, okay? So again, working on the eyelet and the dials is totally optional. Do not do this unless you have something wrong with the eyelet. So for starters, we're gonna need a 10mm soft jaw hole. Put some alcohol on your shaft, clean it real well. Put it in your soft jaw hole. Clamp it down. Grab anything, 13mm wrench or Nip-X. If you have trunnion, oops, okay, oh, that came off. So, just removed it. Take our shaft. Now, our shaft has 2 parts to it, right? I'm gonna be able to, oh, I gotta get my other, I'm gonna be able to push this out? No, I'm not. Let me get my other pick. Right, grab the pick, grab anything that fits in there that's blunt, right? That's soft, so you don't scratch anything. And basically we're going to take our shaft, we're going to separate it. We'll talk about this in a bit, but let's put these 2 on the side for now and work on the eyelet. For the eyelet, first let's start off by taking a cable holder here, right? That's a 2.5mm or 2mm screw. Let's just get it out of the way. Not that you need to, but make it a little bit easier, right? So 1.5mm, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove our dial. So go on top, there's a screw in here. Just make it where you don't have to take the whole thing out, but just put it on, well, I guess the whole set screw came out, leave that on the side. So then what we are going to do is we're going to take a 2mm. We're going to take off our set screw here. And if you notice, the whole dial just spun, or the whole, dial just spun inside, okay? So leave that here. And then 1mm on the back. Okay. Now let's push the old mechanism through. Then we have a bushing. That is our compression. For the rebound, we have a 2mm, right? Yep. We have 2 2mm screws. This one over here is our spring and detent ball for our clicks. So let's take that. Oh, the spring came out with it. Yay. Now, hey, and the ball came out. Don't lose your ball. And then we have our set screw. The control range. Okay, and then okay, restubborn. Grab a 2.5 millimeter. Pull it out. Watch out, there is a O-ring there. And then one more thing. This one's pretty clean, actually. One more thing we have, since we're already here, an O-ring at the base. Let's take it out now. Be careful with it. They do not give us a replacement. Put it on the side. And our eyelet is empty. Next, let's clean it all up. First, let's start by spraying alcohol on the eyelet. Grab a paper towel, start scrubbing. Make sure you get the threads over here on the top side for the air can. Clean those well. Make sure there's no dirt stuck in those. All right, then we go down to the base. Clean any old oil from in there. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let's clean inside here. Try and get any blue Loctite that might be in there. Honestly, I don't see any blue Loctite, and I'm fairly confident there should be blue Loctite in there. Maybe that's why the thing came loose. Okay. That's looking pretty clean. Let's grab another one. Let's clean the insides where the dials and spring sit. So make sure you clean everything in here. That's looking real clean. Let's try and grab this side as well. Since that didn't fit. Yeah. Tuck it in like this. All right. Super clean in there. Let's do our rebound, just in case there's some debris in there. Again, we have an O-ring. We don't want that thing to get scratched up or damaged in any way because of dirt. They don't give us a replacement. And the last thing you want to do is buy a new eyelet, which is ridiculous. Rockshox, give us the O-rings. And that's pretty much it for the eyelet. Let's put it on the side. Now let's start with our rebound seal. Be careful with it. Don't pull it, don't tear it. Just rub it nicely, or lightly I should say, just to get off any old grease or any kind of debris, or potentially even Loctite if they did put it in there, although it doesn't look like they did. Clean our rebound. Again, there is a seal over there. I don't think it's worth taking out. You tear it, well, it's not good. So let's just leave it. Do that. Let's clean our ball. Okay. Let's clean our spring. All right, our rebound is done. Now, for the compression, let's start off with our bushing. Be careful with it. See what I mean? Try and get it more even. There we go. All right. Definitely got the grid out of there. Now, we have our cam. We have our spring. There we go. And now let's clean all the old grease. Okay. Clean our spring. I like grease or corrosion. Yeah, both. Okay. I'm not too worried about it. Try and clean this one of all the old grease that's in there. Huh. Okay. Let's clean our cam. All the old grease off from both sides. Okay. And spring, back end, and basically the only thing we really have left over here is our knob, which is clean, and what you can do if you want, set screws, just the bottom parts. And that's pretty much it, folks. Let's put it back together. To put it back together, first we're going to start with our rebound. Let's take grease. Now, not SRAM butter, regular thick grease. All right, let's put a good coat around this seal over here to keep it nice and fresh, and also make sure the detent ball, in fact, just cover the whole thing. All right, now when we put this in, we want to make sure that this part here does not face this hole, okay? So basically just put it in any which way where that opening fits that hole. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our ball. Actually, first let's take our set screw. So grab the set screw, put it in there, grab our 2.5 millimeter. What you're going to do is bring it all the way down to the end. And then you're going to go about 1/8 of a turn back, quarter turn back most. Let's make sure, yep, we turn, we're good. Okay, now let's take some grease, put it on our detent ball. Drop the detent ball in. Now let's take grease, put it on the spring to protect it. Don't be afraid here. Give it a good amount. Put that on top of the detent ball. Now grab our 2 millimeter. Screw this down. Don't over tighten it. Grab our 2 millimeter or 2.5 millimeter. There we go. That's working fine. All the way locked for now. Now, we're going to grab, so the way this works, there's a hole over here on the back side. Okay, and then there's also a hole over there. And that's how this connects together as one mechanism. But before we do that, let me clean this a little bit better. There's definitely a little bit of corrosion on that spring. Okay, So what we're going to do first, put a good amount of grease on the spring to protect it from corrosion. Okay. Then what we're going to do, find the hole. Where is it? There it is. Is that it? My eyes deceive me? Yeah, that was it. Okay. So now, put a good amount of grease around here. Then, put a good amount of grease on here. And then, put a good amount of grease on your cam. Well, not that much, but there we go. I mean, remotes get used, right? So that cam is going to get used. You want grease on it. So now, find the hole, put it in. There we go. So, for good luck, a little bit more grease on it. Done. Now, there's a hole over here where our set screw goes. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to insert this from the back to the front. Line up that hole for now. Line it up, and let's temporarily put in our 1.5 millimeter set screw. It's just temporary. We're going to take it out in a second. Now, I should have mentioned that the cam also, you know what, let me show you. That's pretty important. So the cam also has a groove over here for the set screw, right? So we have to make sure this shows on top over here as well, right? So let's put that there, bushing. So now, if we align this top hole, that one should align. Again, let's put this in temporarily. Now, take our bushing, a little bit of coat of grease on it, just to help with potential ingest of moisture. All right, now there's a hole. Now this hole needs to sit on top of that hole. All right, so put it in, make sure you see the hole when you put it in. There we go. Now we take our 2 millimeter set screw and we put it in that hole and screw it down. If it doesn't go in, it might be a little bit off. Am I straight? Can't tell if I'm straight. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Oh, never force anything. If you feel a lot of friction, don't force it in. Like I said, so now we're going to screw this in until it's basically flush on top, okay? Just like that. That's all we need. So now what we're going to do, we're going to remove this set screw. Okay, now keep it on there because we're going to need it. 2.5 millimeter Allen. Now this is a little bit tricky. What we are going to do is we're going to turn it, okay, 360 degrees clockwise until we see that hole again. Okay, there it is. Now the problem is trying to keep it there while you take this screw. You can use your body and then screw this guy in. Nope, a little bit more, I bet. And there we go. Done. So now what we're going to do is clean It's our best chance to clean any excess grease we don't need around this entire area from our hands. In fact, we do not want grease around here. What we are going to do is try and go inside that rebound dial, because I'm sure some grease got in there. Yeah. Okay. Clean this area real well. Again, once we put that dial in, we're not going to be able to get in here. If there's a lot of grease here, dirt's immediately going to attract to it. So now, let's grab our dial, align the holes, right? Should fit in perfectly. Grab our 1.5 millimeter. Screw it in. Oop, what am I doing? Bonehead. Here. That's what happens when you look through a camera sometimes. Nice and snug. And then let's finish it with our arm. Again, 2 millimeter. Let's put it through. Actually, let's do it this way, probably easier. Okay. There we go. Nope. Come on. Why is this thing giving, oh, nowhere near the hole. Very common with me. And this one, snug. And that is basically, nope, we're not done yet. Oops. Well, there you go. Let's put our seal in. Put some grease on it. This one goes on the bottom. Make sure it tucks into one seat on the side. Just like that. And now let's tuck the rest in. Grab the bigger one. One little, oh, did it just pop out? No, it didn't. Okay. And this is one of my plastic picks that I made. There we go. And it's in. Now let's not forget to clean the excess grease from the threads, because we are going to put Loctite glue on this. Our eyelet is done. Before we put the shaft in the eyelet, let's clean it. Clean both of them. All right, spray it inside and outside with alcohol, clean the threads. Yep, nobody put Loctite on this. This was supposed to have Loctite. So that's not good. I guess it never happened from the factory. Anyway, it'd be what it'd be. Now let's put the towel through it. Yep, I want to clean this side too. Just make sure we have good connection with our threads. Okay. Yep, that's looking super clean now. This one over here has a seal. Be very careful. You don't have to move it, remove it. Be very careful they don't give us a replacement. Let's just take it out for now. And let's again clean this thing both outside and in. Come on. Clean the seat. See if we could do it like this. grab something, put it in. Hopefully this should work. There we go. And then grab anything thin like a skewer or something. And a little bit more in order to push it all the way through. Look at it. That last little bit. It's going to do me in. There we go. Great. There we go. Push it all the way out. See what I mean? Yep. That's definitely much cleaner inside. Cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab some SRAM butter. And we are going to put it in the seat. Put some butter on our O-ring. Be careful putting this O-ring in. It should just go in above like that, and maybe I'm lying. There we go. Now, grab a good amount of grease, put it around that O-ring, protect it good. All right. Now, this space over here is the tolerances for your rebound, okay? So this is somewhat not predetermined. It's basically set from the first time they put the shaft inside the eyelet, all right? Before we put the shaft in the eyelet, we absolutely have to make sure, that our rebound is in the fully locked position, so fully clockwise. Okay, this is super important with Rockshox, because if we don't put it in a fully clockwise position and it's off by even one notch, this gap will shrink. And what happens when it shrinks, you lose rebound. So if this was in the if your rebound was in the fully open position and we set this in there, you would lose your rebound. You'd literally have no rebound. So if you have a Rockshox shock, right? I should have mentioned this in other ones in the past. If you have a Rockshox shock and you find that your rebound is soft or not working like it should, this could very well be the reason. Whenever it was set in without the rebound being in the fully locked position, okay? So everything's prepped. We are going to take our rebound now, and well, let's put a little bit of grease around the whole outside here. Okay. We're going to take it, and we're going to bring it in just like that. Okay, let it stick out just like that. So now, grab our Loctite. Make sure our threads are clean and free. See what I mean? There was a little bit of grease on it. Loctite glue does not like grease. Okay, now that we're free of grease, what we're going to do, and let's double check, make sure we're in the fully locked position. What we're going to do now is we're going to sink this in. Oops. Would have been nice if I actually put Loctite on the threads. Don't forget the Loctite. Okay, make sure it's sitting in the threads before screwing it in. Again, double check. We're in a fully locked position. Now we're going to grab our shaft, sink it in, screw it in by hand. Okay, then let's clean it. Put it in our 10mm soft jaw hole. Torque wrench, whatever you're using, 13mm crowfoot, or in my case, eyelet tool. 4.5 Newton meters, 90-degree angle. There we go, 4.6. We don't need much. That Loctite will hold it in place. And that is it. Let's make sure our dial's working. Okay, let's put it to the fully open. All right. And then what we're going to do is we are going to push back our, there you go, rebound rod. So now we know that our rebound is in the fully open position for the bleed later. Perfect. We're all done with the eyelet. Let's go back to finishing it up, or finishing up the damper. Part 2 of the 200-hour service. So if you notice over here, I opened up the seal kit. That came in the 200-hour, the A2 seal kit. So Rockshox SIDLUXE 200-hour kits come with both full A1 and A2 kits separately. So when you're done with this job, you're going to be left over with one of these full kits, and you can't use one with the other one. So anyway, it is what it is, but I ordered everything by size over here so we could find it. So first, let's put in our token. Oops, wrong way. Well, if I put it in the right way, set it all the way down. Let's grab so flat part goes above. Oop. Oh, sand cranes are coming. I don't know if you guys could hear that. There we go. Screw it down. Grab our 18mm, make it nice and snug. All right, don't over tighten it, just nice and snug. So we have this O-ring that goes on the eyelet. Should have put this before the other one, actually. I should have put this, anyway, it doesn't matter. You can still fit it in, but sometimes it's easier to put it. There we go. Make sure it's sitting in there. Perfect. Okay, now let's clean our bumper washer. Put that in there. Kit gives us a new bumper. There we go. New bumpers in there. Now we have our air can piston. We have a seal on the inside here. Let's take that out. These seals we're going to do as part of the 50-hour service later. I don't like changing them now. So then we have a seal above here. Put it in there and there we go. Pop this out. All right, that's pretty much the only two seals. Now, let's clean it. Let's go in there and clean the seat. There we go. All right, let's inspect the bushing. Since this was used, and the bushing looks great. Awesome. Cool. That was from taking it off, but it's okay. The token, that's from the tool. Again, dumb idea. They shouldn't have done it like that. Let's find a replacement. That's obviously this one here. That's obviously that one there. So first let's start with the inside. Good amount of grease. Right, try and sink. Can we do it from this side, or am I going to have to do it like the typical way? Yep. Okay, so basically sink one side in. See if you could get it in the seat. There we go. Wow, the whole thing popped in. Sweet. Rare, but it happens. Grab grease. Put on this one here. Now there's one more thing we need to do. Make sure this one's sitting. In fact, I should have done it before. We have to remove the pellet. So there is a white pellet. Don't lose that white pellet, right? And to do that, we are going to see it squeezed in there, right? We're going to need a 1.5mm Allen or a punch in order to be able to remove it. So here's my punch. So basically we go from the bottom. Let's see if we could do it by hand, or am I going to have to push this thing out? I'm going to have to punch. Oh, there we go. I got it by hand. Sweet. One less thing. See? There it is. Yay! Toss that out. Cool. So now that this thing is set, let's put it in. Let's clean the top over here. Any grease? Let's clean the thread since we have an opportunity on the inside. Any grease? Now, when it comes to your shim stack, what you can do is inspect it as is right here, so you don't, by mistake, lose or make a mess out of it where you're going to have to go hunting for the shim order, right? So you just inspect it, make sure all the shims are in good condition. What I'm going to do is take it apart and clean each shim one by one. Again, I never worked on this before. I don't know the history of this shock. All right, so we know this is the bottom, this is the top. We're going to go in order that way from the bottom. We have a check plate here. All right, flat side goes down. All right, then we got our compression shims. Now, always with shims, like I said, you don't have to do this. So with shims, always double check them to make sure that they're not stuck together, because they literally stick together like magnets. See what I mean? Okay, and we have our piston. It's our compression side. Compression side down. Now, that, to me, seems like a very light rebound. Not a shim? I can't tell. Whole thing's a shim. It's got to be. This stuff, like, I'm positive that's shim. Let me go get a magnet. I knew it. Again, they stick to each other like magnets, and we still have one more larger one. Can I get to it from this side? Yeah. Let's just push it out from that side. What am I even thinking? And there we go. That is the whole assembly. Let's put it back together. Put this guy here, and let's turn him upwards, then one by one. Take them, wipe them, and put them on. Piston, the concave side or recessed side is the rebound. Flat side above is the compression. I'm putting this one first because the other one, it sits inside the thinner one. Even though we're going to double check it when we put it on, the actual shock. So that little one should sit inside, just like, oop, I had it. There we go. All right. Should probably change this one. Okay. Make sure it's sitting nicely in there. And done. We're back at the vise, so we're going to take our tie wrap, put it in. Now, let's make sure that that one small one sits inside that thinner outer one, right? In fact, I believe that was it right there. Let's make double sure. Okay, so this is the thinner outer one. We need to make sure that this one sits inside that one, just like that. Now the rest goes on. Screw it down. Remove our tie wrap now. Grab our tool. Oops, wrong side. Make sure it's sitting in there. 14 millimeter torque wrench, 4.5 Newton meters. .54. Cool. Now we have 3 seals to change on this one. This small one over here, and these 2 over here. So let's remove the easier ones. Be careful with this. There we go. Oops. I need new glasses. Stronger glasses. Getting old sucks. And these little ones are always a pain in the butt. There we go. All right. There goes that. Let's clean this. Replacements. Oh, this little one's obvious. That's this little one here, and these 2 are the 2 bigger ones here. Right? Yep. Out with the old, and with the new. Let's start off with the small one. Just put a little bit of grease on the seat. A little bit of grease on the O-ring. Pop it in there. Get over this hump. There we go. And just put a little bit of grease on this O-ring. Start with the bottom one first. There we go. The grease. Okay. There we go. Now, let's pop this in straight down, right? Be careful with it. You don't want to bend it. Straight down. There we go. Now, technically, we could test them. If we hit our knob, it should go up. It's going to lock it. And then when we let go, it goes down in the open position. So now we grab the cap. There is no seal on this, right? No, I'm positive there's no seal on it. God, man, look at all those little holes. That's a lot of machining. So let's put this in. Okay, and then, again with our tool, line it up. And this one is 2.3 Newton meters. Try and be precise here. 2.36. And our piston and assembly is done. Now we're ready to put it back into the damper body. Before we bleed it, let's make sure we're all prepped, right? So I have my 2mm Allen with my bleed screw. I have my bleed ball. You need the bleed ball. My 19mm crowfoot so I could torque it down. Torque wrench, 28 Newton meters. I have my 7-weight oil pan underneath to catch any oil. And the damper is in a soft jaw at 23.8-ish, give or take, right? Millimeters. If you don't need a fancy, well, you don't need one specific to the SIDLUXE. If you have a regular one around with a hole that big, just make sure you block or clamp onto the IFP itself, right? So another thing I'm going to do, because this is going to want to make a bit of a mess. Let's try and at least control some of that mess. Okay, so first what we're going to do is slowly fill up the damper. Why is this? Well, that's weird. Why is it not coming out? Look at that. I don't even know how to explain that. What the? Okay, that's not going to work out for me. That's crazy. I don't get it. What's causing that? This thing blocked? Let's try it again. Wow, this thing's a mess. Crappy dollar store. So let's fill it up. Okay, don't fill it up to the top yet. Grab something rubbery. Just to make sure. Now let's overflow it a little bit. Get all the little bubbles off. There we go. Cover your bottle. We shouldn't need this anymore. So the way this is going to work, we are going to take this and we're going to sink it. Now it could be a little bit tricky because this could be very tight on the walls, right? Now we do have a little bit of play. We don't want to bring the air piston back or the air can piston back, but we can bring it back just a little bit to start off with, right? And then we put it down. What you don't want to do is push down from the eyelet, right? We always want to push down from the shaft and the air piston down, right? We don't want to do that. Sometimes I look like I'm touching it, but I'm not putting any force on it, okay? So, and there's no rush over here. We want to make sure that oil goes through all these ports and through the whole system, right? So, and then it'll come out the bleed hole over here. So that's what we're looking for, all right? And then we're going to screw, well, then we're going to screw it all down. So again, first, let's see if we can get it in. Now we need to put it in and sink it down, right? So let's put it in and sink down the, again, don't push down the shaft past the, did I get it? Yep, I got it. Cool. Remember, don't sink it by the eyelet. All right. That's looking pretty good. There we go. Now I see oil coming out. Take your time over here. There is no rush. We want that oil to come out. In fact, let's do it this way so it don't block the air coming out. Right there. See the air coming out? So there's air coming out. Again, just let it all come up. There is no rush over here. See? Look at all the air bubbles coming out. And there's a lot of ports in there. And that oil has to make it through all those ports and force that air out. Okay. See, a little bit more air coming out. All right. And pretty much as far as I could take it by hand. Torque wrench, 90-degree angle. Again, 28 Newton meters. So on this side, yes, 28 Newton meters. $28 on the money. Cool. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the bleed hole's on this side. We're going to take our bleed ball. I don't see any air coming out of it. Then we're going to take our bleed screw. Be careful here. It's on an angle. Don't force it. Okay, now we don't want to over tighten it. A nice hand tight, even though this is like wrong hand. So a nice hand tight. Just enough to squish that ball open. You don't want to crush it or crack it. And our damper is bled. Let's put on our token. So you got the screw goes on this side, right? Snap it in just like that. Don't force it. Should go in nice and smooth the whole way. Take it until it's nice and snug. To fill up the IFP, we have two options. We could use nitrogen or we could use regular air with a shock pump. There's nothing wrong with regular air, all right? For this video, I'm gonna do it with air. For the next video, when I change this to a 3-position lever, I'm gonna go to nitrogen because I gotta unfortunately go through this whole process again. So, now, all you need is this blue adapter. It's a Rockshox adapter, right? Now, what I did is I put a Schrader extension that has a pin inside where the pin gets, here, let me show you. The pin gets triggered and it opens up the port. And what I built was, well, what I cut was a piece of aluminum metal, right? To the right size in order to basically, when I screw this to here, when I get to the end, it will push this down, which will push this pin down, which will push in the Schrader valve. If I do it like this right now, it will not push in the Schrader valve. So when we screw it in, remember it's on an angle. Be careful over here because sometimes these are very deceiving and you can strip them easy, right? So now I'm all the way in. So it's basically a lossless setup that I created here. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to screw it down. Right? Very easy to create. In fact, I think I have a video as far as how to do it. And now we're going to fill it up to 500 PSI, high pressure shock pump. Hopefully we have no leaks. Get in there. And I have an extremely small leak, insignificant. Now I just shot past 500. Let's empty it out just a little bit. Oops, now I'm below 500. And now I'm just a little bit above. In fact, I'm gonna let that leak go down. There we go. Grab the blue. Actually, for me, you're gonna grab the blue one and detach from the hose. Let me make sure I don't go below 400. Nope, I'm good. For me, all I need to do is unscrew this. And right there, basically, so much harder than it needs to be. There we go. All that air came out from the hose. Basically, this already disengaged on the other side. And that is pretty much it. I know I have exactly hopefully, 500 PSI in there. Let's put the Schrader cap on before I forget it. Sometimes I forget all the way to the end and there's no reason to not put it on now. Screw that down, don't over tighten it, just nice and snug. There we go. And we're at the dyno. So rebound's fully open, compression's open obviously. Let's push it down, let go. Ooh, that snaps back real quick. And it goes all the way down without any issues. No noises whatsoever. That is sounding good. Let's test our rebound. 2.5 millimeter Allen. Put it to the fully locked position. I think it's working. Yep. Let's do that again, just to be sure. Oh yeah, that is working real good. Our rebound's working, we're fully open. Now let's test our lockout. Okay, let's take it. Whoa. Man, I'm putting like a huge chunk of my weight on it. It is not budging. That's awesome. I mean, guys, oops, I just let go of it. Great. Yeah, to say the least, this thing locks out, and it locks out big time. Let's test that one more time. There we go. Yep, not going anywhere. Perfect. She's perfectly bled, folks. Let's finish up the 50-hour service. For part 2 of the 50-hour service, I opened up the air can seals, put them in order. So these are the air can seals. These are the air can piston seals. We're going to start off with these first. So let's go to the air can. Let's take out our current wiper. All right. Let's go in there, grab our split ring. Find out split. Yep, that's the split right there. No, we'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Nope, maybe not. That is our quad ring, and this is our split ring. And then on the outside here, we have another ring. All right. Now, let's spray it well with alcohol. Let's go in there and start cleaning. Wow. Not good. Okay, what you want to do is get in this area in here, underneath. Dirt always collects in there. See what I mean? So, that again. Let's do it again. That's looking better. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now let's do our seats for both the quad ring, split seal, and the wiper. So bunch up some paper towel, stick it in a seat, spin it all the way around, or if you have an angled pick like this, don't touch the wall with a pick, but force some paper towel in there and just go all the way around. Try and clean out as much dirt from in there as possible. All right. Then, oops, put that here. Put your thumb at the base of the threads and then spin it around to try and get all the grit from inside the threads, because again, if too much grit gets in those threads or dirt or debris, it could actually stop you from screwing it in. All right, that is looking good. Let's put everything in. First, let's start off with our quad ring. Put grease on it. Goes into the second seal, the bottom seat. I should say, not seal. All right. Now when we put it in, we need to make sure that we don't twist it. Double check it. Always double check it. That's looking good. Grab our split ring. Goes above the quad ring. Try and stick. There we go. Now make sure it sits correctly. The split ring's supposed to sit like this, not like that. Okay, now let's clean any grease from the seat of the wiper. Let's put in our wiper. So let's put in our wiper. What the? The wiper doesn't want to go in. Damn it. Jeez. Okay, messing around. Grab some grease, put it at the top. On the inside, not on the outside. Clean anything from the outside. We don't want grease attracting. And let's grab our small O-ring and put it at the base of the threads. This one we're not going to use. The air can's done. Let's work on the air can piston. For the air can piston, let's remove our split ring. Okay, put that down there. Let's move our other split ring. Put that, geez, man. Put that down there. Now let's remove our quad ring. Careful. Don't scratch anything. Quadring out. Now let's clean everything. Isn't it good? Because just in case, because it seemed like there was grit in there. Although that could have been dynamic seal grease. Like I said, that stuff dries up into a paste. I'd love to get people's thoughts on that one, at least people that work in service centers. But I don't think any of them watch these videos, so it'd be what it be. All right, now put some grease on the quad ring. The new one. Toss these out. Put it through. When we put it on there, make sure we do not twist it. Grab our larger or thicker. So we have a thick and a thin split ring. The thick one goes towards the eyelet. Now this one isn't directional. Okay. Don't overstretch it. There we go. And the thin one goes at the bottom. Don't overstretch it. Make sure it seats. And then what we can do is offset the seat. Just like that. Now again, you have your option. You could use dynamic light. I have 1550 over here. So I'm just going to use the 1550. Now first let me start off. I'm going to put a little bit on here. Let that soak in. And then we're going to put about half a milliliter in the air can. On this side, spin it around. Okay. Sink it in. Then we're going to put another half a milliliter. About there. Grab something to grip. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick this up. There we go. That's the bleed. That's the port that equalizes the negative with the positive. Now it should be real easy to put on. There we go. Good here, the threads are clean. Now what we're going to do, spray a little bit of alcohol, grab a towel, clean it so we get good grip. And I'm doing it by hand because before it was too tight. Oh, that's more than enough right there. All right, let's clean everything else off. Grab our new sag ring. There we go. Toss the old one out. Our kit comes with bushings, eyelet bushings. We're going to change them out because these are worn. Right, so this is an eyelet bushing tool. There's many versions out there. This is Rockshox. There's many different kinds. You don't have to get Rockshox. They're basically all the same. So essentially what we're going to do is push out the bushing. This is a pusher, that's a receiver. Screw it in. Make sure it sits inside. There we go. Let's see if in this case, it's a 13 millimeter. Oh. Okay. Jeez, man. All right. Boom. Our old bushing is out. Let's clean the inside. Okay, grab our new bushing, and this up because we're going to need it. Now, new bushing, I'm going to take grease, we're going to put on the other side, outside. Okay. So the way this works, let's try and make it where it sort of sits on its own. Doesn't have to be perfectly. Oh, cool. There we go. Line it up. Make sure you don't trap your shock body. And now we just press it in. And done. Now we grab alcohol, spray it down, and clean any excess grease, any grease or oils that's on the outside, especially again around the dial area, around the eyelet area over here. Grab all these little spots, go into every one of them and remove them all, or else dirt will immediately clog it all up. And we don't want dirt going inside. And ta-da! And there you have it, folks. You just finished fully servicing a Rockshox SIDLUXE Ultimate 2-position remote shock. Again, the A2 chassis. The A2 chassis is different than the A1 from a damper perspective and an eyelet perspective. So you can't use my A1 videos for the A2. You now have an A2 video. Super easy shock to work on. Air can service, just like all shocks, stay on top of your air can services. Do them every 50 or so. It doesn't have to be every 50 hours exact. Hours, it'll just make your shock run so smooth. And once you get used to it, you're always going to want to go back there and freshen it up. Damper service on this, easy enough. If it wasn't for that dumb tool, then it would be super easy. Eyelet, easy, but if you don't need to do it, don't bother doing it. So what I am going to make actually is a video out of this shock, converting it from a 2-position remote to a 3-position lever. This is going on one of my bikes. I don't need a remote on that bike, and it is a bit of a process going from a 2-position to a 3-position. If you were to go from a 2-position remote to a 2-position lever, or vice versa, then it's much easier. So I'm going to make a whole video on converting this to a 3-position. All right, all that's left now is put your rebound back to where it was, fill up your air back to where it was. Don't forget your air cap. And then you're going to put it on your bike and you're going to go out there and you're going to race the hell out of this thing, okay? Just make sure after your first few rides to clean off any grease or excess oil that comes out of the air can onto the damper body. We don't want to attract too much dirt and make the wiper's job harder than it needs to be. That's pretty much it, folks. So if you like this video, click that like button, click that subscribe button to see more videos, click that bell button, ding, in order to get notified when more videos get released, and many more videos like this are coming. If you want to see a couple of videos out right now, those two over there might be of interest. And until the next time, I hope all is well with everyone out there, and we will be talking to you all soon. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.